It's all a bit weird, this webinar thing to me. I'm normally sat in front of a classroom with people, so you have to excuse me if I sort of go off on a tangent. I'm sat in the office here by myself. Yes, I'm going to be going through this with you guys. So I'm guessing you're all hardened, seasoned AutoCAD users, but you know you get these drawing files in that can be a right pain. So that's the idea of this session. It's a quick little session, shortcuts, tips and tricks and bits and pieces on how to get those drawings tidied up. I'm going to run through this PowerPoint first of all, and if I can get this to work. So PowerPoint first of all, let's have a look. That's not that button then, obviously. Is it that one? Enter key. Oops, no, I don't want to cancel it. Cancel that. So on there. There we go. Right, there we go. That's me. That's me. I've worked for Greatech UK now for 32, 33 years. My role with the company primarily is support and training. And yes, I'm not training. I'm normally on support calls, but typically not doing webinars, as you can see. I joined the company in 1989, and as I say, my main role is support and training. So I've been using AutoCAD for blimey, must be going on. I was using it before I joined the company. So I've been using it for about 35 years. Right, I don't class myself an expert by any stretch of the imagination. You guys out there using AutoCAD, when you get into a particular area of AutoCAD, you're way ahead of me. But I mean, it's such a massive program nowadays. I don't envy anybody coming in it from scratch. So yes, I train and support AutoCAD LT, the full-blown AutoCAD, Revit architecture, and I used to do a bit of civil as well. But now I've got some dedicated trainers on the civil package. So yes, I mean, touch on the support side of things. I know what sort of problems people come across, so that's what gives me a bit of a head start with working out what problems are in drawing files. Right, I'll run through the rest of this PowerPoint. It's a bit about Greatech. This is our default PowerPoint, if you like. So Greatech is a company. We've got offices all over Europe now. Our head office is in Paris. And we've got a couple of acquisitions going on. Our boss is telling us that there's a couple of acquisitions going on somewhere globally. And we got, let's have a look, Greatech key facts. Yes, over 30 years old. Yeah, there we go. Head office in France, 11 countries, 48 offices worldwide. Probably got more than that now, to be fair. As I say, I don't know the full ins and outs of this PowerPoint, but we've got programmers working for us now as well. So we're writing softwares. Greatech, it's a good, strong company. There you go, over 550 staff there. And we're all linked together. So the support, if you have any support calls or queries, and then any of our offices, they're all linked into our help desk system. So it all works really well. Yeah, 98% excellent or good for customer support. Yay, that's us. 3,500 training courses delivered per year. There we go. So yes, I mean, my diary's just filled up with all this carry on. Just recently, the diary's been backing up. So yes, I'm now flat out training. I was ran a training course. Was it last week, the week before? And then my diary's full right to Christmas. I've got companies booking in training courses with me into February and March time now. So yeah, I'm busy. I'll just flick through this, get to the good stuff. Don't tell the boss, he'll kill me. But yeah, we just do anything. We supply software, the whole lot. So yeah, so this little webinar I'm doing, zero to hero. I mean, if you could be the one that the people in the office turn to already. I don't know how big your offices are. Maybe you might buy yourself an office. But yes, if you can get your head around how these drawings work, how they're put together, then that's half the battle. Understand what's going on in the background. So yeah, you get these drawings that sometimes they'll seem slow and what have you. So I'm going to go take you through some of these things. Now, if people do send me a drawing file to sort out, I've got like a step-by-step process that I go through to make sure that I'm working on a level playing field, because there's all sorts of things can go wrong with a drawing file. As I said, never trust any drawing you receive off anybody. You need to check and double check before you can start your work on it. I mean, some drawing files, you might find you get it in, you look at the screen, you might be thinking, well, why is this drawing so big? There's hardly anything on the screen. So again, I want to show you how to reduce the file size. If you get the file size down, it's going to be quick to save, quick to open, and just more manageable all around. And drawing files, as I said in my notes at the top there, drawing files are getting bigger and bigger as time goes on. As computers get faster, the file sizes get bigger. So, people put more into the drawing files, and that slows the thing down again. So I want to show you some tools to help you speed up work on large files. You might be just working on the corner of a site, for example, or a corner of a building, and all the overhead of all the rest of the information is just not required. Then I'll go through some typical issues and more importantly, the solutions. Folks had a lot of problems with hatch patterns, trying to get those correct, or line types. That's another good one. Line types. Why is the line type not showing up? Or why is this one showing up and not the other line type showing up? That kind of thing. And then some useful little tips and tricks. I've called it hidden features. They're not hidden. Nobody just tells you about them. But it can be quite useful. So that's what we're going to be going through. As I say, I'm supposed to fill in out about whether I do or not. We'll see how it goes on. Right, well, let's have a look. So, I should have put my contact details in there. I can't put it in now, can I? What I'll do is I'll write my email address in one of the drawing files. There's some text. I should have filled that in as well. Shows you I'm not good at these webinar things. I'll stick to my classroom training. Let's have a look. So, come out of that, and then get into my AutoCAD. So I've got AutoCAD running here. I think I need to press this and show my AutoCAD. Yes, there we go. So that's your front end to AutoCAD. If I get into, I'm going to show you first. So yes, if you get a drawing file in, I'm going to open a file, open files, and then I hope that you guys are all using this places list on the side there, and by default they give you some locations in them, shortcuts in there, but you need to be creating your own shortcuts in here. So for example, if I take this one back out again, to make a shortcut, it's dead easy. So you go into there's your folders. I've got one there called webinar. If you wanted a shortcut, that can be anywhere on the internet, anywhere, or on your server. Drag it across, pop it in there, click on it, and it takes you into that folder. Come on, take the folder, and there it is. There's the drawing files in that folder, and that could be buried deep inside your server somewhere. So let's have a look. We're going to do a typical drawing file here. Let's have a look what it comes in as. So I open it up. Let's have a look at it. Drawing file here. Let's have a look at what's actually in this drawing file. Maybe pop up some messages like this on the screen. And it's okay if it pops up the first time, but then it pops up again, it pops up again, it pops up again, and it gets a bit annoying. It pops up every time on the screen. So these are what are called proxy graphics. So there's objects in that drawing file that have been created by another program. So but it shows the true representation of the object. I won't go into too much detail. The upshot is I'm sick of that notice popping up. So close it off the screen. Here's one on there. Now it is in the menu somewhere, but I just go to the command line and type in proxy notice, PROXY, proxy notice, and set it to 0. That notice will not pop up again. Okay. So if you've got that notice popping up all the time, it won't pop up again. I'll start sorting that out. Okay, right. So let's have this drawing file here. So first of all, if I get a drawing file in, I need to know what's going on in here. So one of the first things I'll do is run through a purge on this file. So it runs from a dialog box. So now I'm in AutoCAD 2021 here, but it works in AutoCAD LT, the full AutoCAD, So run a purge, P-U-R-G-E, purge on that. Comes with this dialog box on here. You can see the non-purgeable ones there, and there's the non-purgeable ones. And look at this, loads of blocks which are not being used. Now, I'm not going to go into detail on any of this because we haven't got time to go through all the details. So, purge necessary. I'm not going to confirm on each one. Purge zero length geometry. If you've got a line that starts at 0,0 and ends at 0,0, you want to get rid of it. It's just a reference in the drawings database. Orphan data, that's if the drawing's been in other programs like MicroStation. It leaves links through to their seed file or the template file, as it were. But basically, just do a purge all. Do a purge all. Get it all dumped out. All dumped out. Close on that one. Now, there are what are called registered applications. If you've run this in Civil, or you've run it in AutoCAD Architecture or other programs like that, AutoCAD Electrical, then those will be registered applications with this file. And again, they just fill up the drawing file size. Well, notice down there, actually, it did 41 zero-length geometric objects. So, again, then they're being dumped out. So, whenever it brings up a dialog box, you can often run the command line option. So I'm going to type in a minus purge, like minus plot and minus layer. You can run the command line options. And I've got some other options down there which are not shown in that dialog box. And the one I'm looking for down there is, there it is, registered applications. And you see that one, reg apps. So if I say, and it says, okay, which applications you want to purge out of this drawing file? Well, I'm going to say all of them. So bang a wildcard in there, hit enter. Do you want to verify each one? No, I don't. Hit enter. And there we go. So if I press the function key F2, look at all that lot that was registered with this drawing file. So that again will have brought the file size down ever so slightly, but it all heading the right direction. Okay, 26 registered applications. So that's on the purge command. Okay. Now another one I would typically run is the audit command. And lots of you guys probably know about this already, but the audit command, the way that I imagine the audit command works is it looks at the database and it sorts out any say layer name which is incorrect. It'll make it correct. Or for example, there may be a reference to a line which starts at a particular point, but in the drawings database there's no end point for that line. So it's the beginning of the line, but not the end point. So the audit command, AUDIT, audit command, again, it is in the menus, but I just type it in. It's under the big letter A, top left, your application menu. Fix any errors? Yes, I want to fix the errors. It runs through all those drawing files there, all the database. Found 4 errors, fixed 4 errors. Now, they may not have caused a problem with the drawing file when you're working, but on the other hand, it might have crashed the drawing. So doing an audit is also a useful thing to do as well. Okay, now as you can see when I zoom into this drawing file, there's masses and masses of data in there. And what I want to do is run another routine called overkill. Now it's up on the menus. Again, I typically type it in, but up on the home tab, modify panel. If you pull the modify panel down there, it's this sweeping brush here, look. And it says delete duplicate objects. Cleans up overlapping geometry by removing duplicated and or unneeded objects. So if you click on that command there, it says select objects. Well, I'm going to type the word all to pick up everything. And it's picked up 22,000 objects plus. And nothing else to select, so press the enter key. And it brings this dialog box up. Now, I don't typically change anything, but in there you can do things like set a tolerance. So if there are 2 lines aligned on top of each other, and they're out by a particular tolerance, it'll take that as one line. It'll get rid of the extra lines there. So if they are identical objects, it will delete all of them except for one of them. So if on the same layer, the same color and everything else. Now you can ignore some properties. So for example, if I tick the color box there, if I had 2 yellow lines which are on top of each other, same length, same layer. If there are two yellow lines, it would leave them both. If I untick that, it will delete one of them. Anyway, I'm going to leave the defaults there. I typically leave the defaults, do an OK on that, and let it do its business. And there we go, finished already. And it has deleted 322 duplicate objects and 944 overlapping objects or segments. What does that mean? Well, if I was to draw a polyline on the screen, if I turn my I'm going to turn polar on. Sorry, polar. If I had a polyline on the screen that went along the screen, starting there, went along the screen to that point. In fact, I'll do it on the screen to that point, and then went back on itself, then carried on along here to there, hit enter. If I select that line, as everybody knows, in the middle, it's got an overlapping object. So the idea of this overkill command is if I run it again, overkill, in fact, I'll just do the polyline. Select the polyline there, press enter, and then OK on that. That is now one polyline going all the way through. Now, again, you may or may not be aware that overlapping segments on a polyline can give you problems when you are hatching. So not only does it resolve the issue with the polyline, giving the incorrect length, but it also may well resolve issues with hatching as well, where you are picking an object to hatch in because you've got a weird boundary on it. So yeah, so watch out for that one. So the overkill command, dead useful tool there. And this file size is coming down all the time, coming down, coming down, coming down. Right, now this drawing file, I would expect if I zoom in, now I'll zoom into the area down here, it looks like it's got door swings on there. I would suspect it's a 2D drawing. Again, don't trust any drawing you get in because it will catch you out. Always check and double check. Now, and this stuff like this is I go through this on my training courses as well because I'm in touch with you guys and in the real world. It's okay at these colleges and things teaching AutoCAD, what have you, but they're not in touch with the real world and they just do it all from a book. When I'm doing these courses, I'll throw my training course with AutoCAD and I'll throw all this stuff in. So I want to look at this drawing from the front edge of the drawing. You might imagine like a sheet of paper. That's a sheet of paper on the screen. I'm going to tip the piece of paper over and look at it from the edge of the piece of paper. How can you do that in AutoCAD? Well, it's using these tools up here. These are called the in-canvas controls. They came in with AutoCAD 2012. And where it says top, we are looking at the top edge of our sheet of paper. If I click on this, I mean, as I say, it's normally for navigating a 3D drawing. So with a 2D drawing, if I look at the front edge of my sheet of paper, that should just look like a line going across the sheet. That's what it should be. Now, bear in mind, the drawing I have on the screen is not some exercise drawing. This is a drawing from a customer. And this is what you could end up landing on your DOS on your desktop for you to work on. If I click on the front edge of this drawing file, look at that. That's what you might be given to work with. All this information floating above the drawing, the main line going through the middle there is the drawing file, the majority of it. But look, there's stuff floating up in the sky, stuff going underground, there's bits and pieces down there. If I click on it, on my properties palette's on the other side there. Oh, there it is. Can I grab that? Let me just try and fold that back onto the side there. If I pull that, if I pull that onto the other side there for the moment. The object there, it's a line. Let me just fold that maybe down. Is a line down underground, which is no good at all. So if I was checking a distance from an object on this horizontal plane, I would get the wrong length. There's text, there's hatching, there's all sorts, dimensions, all floating around all over the place. Now, I'm going to go back to a top view. So where it was said top, I'm going to click on a top view, back on the top view. In a top view, the drawing looks perfectly all right. Okay. Now, you've only got those in-canvas controls in AutoCAD, the full version of AutoCAD. And I would suspect that some of you guys out there, some of you guys have probably used AutoCAD LT. So the question is, how do you look at the front edge of a sheet of paper if you're in AutoCAD LT? Because everybody will tell you, oh, you can only work in 2D in AutoCAD LT. You can only draw in 2D in AutoCAD LT. That's what everybody tells you. That's not true. You can work in 3D in AutoCAD LT. And I'm going to show how you can tip this drawing file over in 3D in AutoCAD LT. And it's a command called viewpoint, V-P-O-I-N-T, viewpoint. Hit the enter key. There is the dialog box, which allows you to set viewpoint presets in the full version of AutoCAD or AutoCAD LT. So in AutoCAD LT, if you look from the front edge of your sheet of paper, this rectangle here, this square here, is representing you looking onto the top of your sheet of paper. So we can look from the bottom left side there, the front edge, the right hand side, the back corner, wherever. We want to look from the front edge of the sheet of paper. So I'm clicking this 270 sector here. And the view on the right hand side is you're looking from, this is the, looking at the edge of the sheet of paper. At the moment, this black bar is pointing straight down from the top. So we're looking straight down to the top of the sheet of paper. So if we look at an angle on the sheet of paper or at the front edge, so that's looking at the front edge. I'm picking the 0 sector there, looking at the front edge of the sheet of paper, doing OK on that in AutoCAD LT, and there's the very same view, OK. Now, how do you resolve this? How do you resolve this problem? Well, in the full version of AutoCAD, it's relatively straightforward. You do need to be back in the top view again to do it, so be careful on that, because notice my X and Y coordinates on the left hand side there. Oh, sorry, I did it with a viewpoint, didn't I? But if you do it with your in-canvas controls, if I do it with my in-canvas controls, then just a moment, sorry, I'll go back to the top. And then if you're using the full version of AutoCAD, keep an eye on this UCS icon. If I do a front view, look what's happened. It's automatically turned around your XYZ coordinates. So if I now did a flatten on these objects, it would push it all to the edge of the sheet of paper. You would just trash your drawing file. So what you need to be careful of in the full version of AutoCAD is doing a top view. And to be fair, I'd recommend you doing it in a top view in LT as well. And then in the full version of AutoCAD, you've got Express Tools, and you can do a modify. And there it is, flatten objects. And as it says, it will convert 3D geometry to 2D geometry. Now you've only got Express tools in the full version of AutoCAD. So be careful on that. I'm not going to read it now because it takes a while to go through it. And it just basically strips out the 3D information. I'm going to go back to a front view to show you how you do it manually in AutoCAD LT. It's not too difficult. I should turn my UCS around again. So UCS world. So the Z is coming off the sheet of paper. So in AutoCAD LT, if you just select the items like that, 1,000 items there, look. And if I pick onto this and select the 485 lines, look, obviously they all vary, but it's the Z value you need to be stripping out. So if I say the start Z is 0, and the end Z is 0, and click back in the drawing, that's just sorted all those lines with all 400 of them. So it's just a case of going around the object and stripping out the Z information in AutoCAD LT. Okay, so there we go. Right, back to a top view on this. Back to a top view. So that's one thing to watch out for is 3D information in your drawing file. Now, another issue you may find with a drawing file when you get them in is you go to change the drawing scale in a viewport or something like that, and you click on the scale list and it shows all this. All imperial scales. What's going on there? Well, it's because you don't know the history of this drawing file, where it's come from. It's been started in America, in the States, or somebody's used the wrong template file or whatever. So the question is, how do you get it back to a standard metric scale in there? That's the scale list you'll be using for your viewports. Well, none of those are any good to me, other than possibly the 1-to-1 at the top. So how do you resolve that? Well, you click on the custom button down here, and in here, this is where you can edit the scales. Now, you don't want to start going around and start deleting these and moving up and down and adding them in. What you need to do is this. There's a reset button there, look. If you say reset this scale list and pick on the metric scales, that sorted it out. Okay on that, perfect. So when I pick on it's here now, it goes a metric scale list. But look, it only goes to 1-to-100. Okay, that's no good in a drawing file like this. If you're surveying tracts of land or anything else, and there are some scales in there that I don't want either. 1-to-16, 1-to-8. I don't want those. I want proper standard metric ISO scales. Now I could go back in here again and pick on the edit button. If I put on there 1-to-100 there, say edit and add in, and in here look, there's a description 1-to-500. So that's just a description. You can put anything in there. You can type in 1-to-Timbuktu if you want, and it's just a description. But that's the bit of the work there. Scale prop, paper units, drawing units. Okay on that, and okay on that. I've now got 1-to-500 in this drawing file. But that won't help me in my next drawing file. I have to go through and add it in, the 1-to-500, 1-to-1000, 1-to-1250, 1-to-5000. So I have to add them all in. So this is what you do. This is the way to resolve the scale problem. And also, AutoCAD by default only goes up to 1-to-100. That's a fun. I must have taken them out to 1-to-100 there. Anyway, you need to go into options. You need to go into options, user preferences, and this will set it for this AutoCAD installation. And you can apply this to every drawing. So here we go, default scale list, your metric one. Now, I know that some people work with metric millimeters and metric meters. So what you could do, if you wanted to set up two scales, you can set up this one as a metric meter list, and this one as a metric millimeter list. Anyway, here we go. Take out the 1-to-16, not going to use that. Delete. Take out the 1-to-4, delete, and so on. 1-to-100, if I say add 1-to-500, that box there, 500, okay on that, and so on. I'll add another one in, 1-to-1000, 1000, okay on that, okay on that. That is saved with my AutoCAD installation. So now, whenever you open a drawing file and it's got those wrong scales in there, you say custom, reset, metric, okay, 3 or 4 clicks there, and now I have got my scales in there, look. Yeah, quick and simple as that. And that is set for this drawing file forever and a day. The question is, why did it cause that? Well, there are some settings in the background that will make AutoCAD use imperial settings. Even though you started with a metric template, if that metric template wasn't set up correctly, you can still have hidden imperial settings. Now, the problem there is when you go to load a line type, if I say, oops, not TL. When I go to load a line type, if I say load, notice it has defaulted to the metric line type definition file, acad.lin. Sorry, the imperial one, the imperial definition file. The metric definition file is acad iso.lin, but it didn't default to it. Anybody who didn't know there are 2 definition files, a metric and imperial one, would blindly go ahead and start loading in imperial line types. And then they wonder why they can't get display correctly. So let me cancel all of this, because if I could override it, look, and go to the ACAD ISO, but I'm not resolving the underlying issue. So if I cancel that, cancel that, cancel that, the setting is a variable called measurement. MEAS, whoops. Yeah, measurement, there it is. Measurement, oh, not measure geo. Measurement. Click, and it's set to 0, i.e. this drawing is flagging itself as imperial. Make it 1. And now when I go to load my line types, load, there we go, AutoCAD ISO.lin, perfect. Now, with line types, yes, you can go and select an imperial definition file or a metric one just by overriding it there. However, if you have that measurement set incorrectly, i.e. 0 for imperial, your drawing will use the imperial hatch patterns. So I can hear people already saying, oh yeah, well that's why my hatch pattern didn't show correctly. And you'll try to hatch in and suddenly it'll just obliterate the screen with a million lines because you're using the imperial hatch pattern. So yes, so that's the measurement, make sure it's set to 1. Now the drawing, the lines on the screen, I have no idea where they came from. Is that a metric pattern or an imperial pattern? Because you can have a situation where you have mixed definitions in the drawing file. So the way to resolve that is to go into load, select all the line types and load them back into the drawing file. By doing that, reloading all the selected line types, that will have the effect of redefining the line types in the drawing file. So I know now that all the standard line types in here, it doesn't cater for user-defined line types, but I know all the standard line types in this drawing file now are metric. So when I do a Control-A to select everything, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that because there's quite a few thousand objects. Yes, if I just escape on that, I'm going to select some of them. Oh, I did pick them. Look, 21,889. I should let it do it. Right, just to show you what I'm going to do there, I'm going to select some of these lines down here. And you can see in here, the line type scale varies. Your line type scale should be 1. Line type scale should be 1. Get it back to a level playing field. This is a drawing file. I don't know where it's come from. I don't know what people have set up in here, but I want to make this drawing work correctly. So there are some settings in AutoCAD to do with line types that will help you. Now, the variable I just set there was a variable called CELT scale. That is the object line type scale. So that line type scale there is a variable called CELT scale. And I've set it to 1. So all the objects have their individual line type scales to 1. Now everybody, I'm sure, is aware of the global line type scale, LT scale variable. That's the global line type scale setting. That also needs to be 1 if you want your drawing to work correctly. Okay. Now, when you're in a viewport, you may have one viewport at say 1 to 5, another one at 1 to 50, another viewport at 1 to 500, and you want your dashes to appear the same in every viewport. 3 mil dashes for your hidden lines, for example, 3 mil dashes. So on your layouts, now there are no layouts in this drawing file, on your layouts, you need to set another line type variable called PSLT scale. PSLT scale. Okay, now that PSLT scale, if it's set to 0, then the global line type scale takes care of it. And in the 1 to 500 viewport, it'll look like a solid line. In the 1 to 5 viewport, it'll look like a dashed line, or vice versa. However, if you set PSLT scale to 1, like it is there already, then the viewports control your line type scale. So in the 1 to 5 viewport, your line type scale automatically gets set to 5. In the 1 to 500 viewport, the line type scale gets set to 500, and it displays 3 mil dashes in every viewport. Okay, so that's when you got multiple viewports. So there, the viewport scale is controlling the line type scale. So if your viewport scale changes, then your line types change accordingly. Don't forget to force a regen though. Right, back on the model tab, you know there are no viewports. So what controls the line types in model space? Well, there's another variable, surprise, surprise. MSLT scale. And make sure MSLT scale is set to 1. So there we go. The object line type scale to 1, LT scale to 1, MSLT scale to 1, PSLT scale to 1. What could possibly go wrong? Right, so I have like a 1 to 500 drawing here, or whatever, 1 to 250 meg, I don't know, we'll try it. So now what controls the scale of the line types here is this down the bottom. This is not a viewport scale, this is an annotation scale, And this afternoon, I'm going to do a little webinar this afternoon about 2 o'clock on annotative objects. If you can't quite get your head around it, I'm going to show you this afternoon. Anyway, here, if I come into here and say, well, make the scale of the objects, the line types, 1 to 100, and force a regen. There we go. Or 1 to 500, and force a regen. I don't know, I should have picked a drawing file that made sense because I don't know in this one. If I zoom in, I don't know what these line types are. But that would normally make the line types display correctly. What's this one here? Line type dashed. And force a regen. Don't forget to force that regen. There we go. There we go. I don't know what if I select that. You see, somebody's bumped the line type scale up to 100 on that one to try and get around the problem. So here we go. What I need to do, I was trying to scale of 1 to 500, that didn't work. So let me check the line type scale here, but everything needs to be 1. It's because I didn't window the whole drawing earlier on. Right, press the escape key. Now, my annotation scale, 1 to 50, force a regen. Don't forget to force a regen to refresh the display. There we go. So 1 to 500 or 1 to 100, REA. And that will have 0 effect on the scale of the lines in the viewports. They'll all work correctly because PSLT scale is controlling those. Right. Okay, I need to crack on a bit. Blimey time. I'm used to doing 3-day presentations, not a 1-hour one. I'll have to do another one. Right. Other tools help speed up a big drawing, to speed up working on a big drawing. Supposing I'm only working in the toilet block down here, look. I'm doing some layouts in this toilet block down here. So if I select these objects in this working area here, do a right click on the screen, there's a tool called isolate, and I can isolate these objects from everything else on the screen. And it works not like layers, this works on just the objects themselves. So there we go, look, now the drawing file is working a lot quicker, zooms in and out quicker because it's just turned everything else off on the screen. Okay, now there's a big line going out here, I don't want this line here, so select this line here, pick on it, right click, isolate, hide objects, get rid of it off the screen. So now I can work a bit better in here. It may be that you're trying to pick some lines or something on the screen. You can't pick the objects because there's other objects getting in the way. So if I was to pick this hatching here, for example, right click and go and isolate, hide objects, I can get it out of the way temporarily while I go and pick other objects in there. Okay, so that's that right click, isolate and hide objects. Once you've finished your work, come across here, end isolation, and there we go. It brings everything back on the screen again. Everything back on again. Okay, so that can help. Also, with hatching, how many people have hands up those who have a problem with hatching? No, of course I can't see your hands, can I? Not in the classroom. Right. No, watch this. If I go to the Home tab and draw a circle just in there, draw a circle in there. I'll make it a bit bigger, so yeah, draw a circle. Now we all know a circle's an enclosed object, so theoretically it should hatch that in. If I go to the hatch routine and say hatch in with a solid pattern inside this circle, it comes up and says, no, there are more than 10,000 objects there. Are you sure you want to continue? Well, if I said yes, we'll be sat here at 9 o'clock tonight, and I don't want to do that, so I'm going to cancel that because it won't hatch it in. Yes, okay, it's a circle, but imagine if I had a line across there, and a line through there or whatever, and I wanted just to hatch this segment in, and there is no single object to pick, is there? There is no single object to pick. So there are a number of ways around it. What I could do is I could zoom right in. So now the hatch pattern is only analysing what is shown on the screen. But supposing I had a footpath going up this side here. If I was to draw a long, thin footpath or a road going up here like that, and I wanted to hatch that in, I couldn't zoom right in because the edge of the boundary is off the screen and it wouldn't hatch because the hatch routine works on what you can see on the screen. So the options are, you can either select the object and do a right click, isolate, and hide isolate object from everything else. So now we'll hatch that in. So I go to hatch, solid, inside there, done it, close hatch creation. That's one way of doing it. Or, what if I do a right click isolation, end isolation? Or another way is this, watch. If I say, okay, I want to hatch in, go to the hatch routine, hatch. If there is no boundary to select, if you go to this boundaries option in the corner there on the ribbon, it's going to use the whole viewport as the boundary set. It's going to analyze all 21,000 objects. However, to the left of that is a button, look, select a new boundary set. In other words, you can tell it to analyze just the objects in this area here. Now, I'm not going to cheat and just pick one or two. I'm going to pick a bundle there of objects. Only analyze those objects. So now when I say hatch in this area here, I can hatch in this, or I can hatch in this, and do a close hatch creation. And it has ignored the other 20,999 objects. It's ignored those. So that's another way around the hatch issue. Right. And I know time's running away with us, blind. I can't believe how quick it's gone. Right, another little tip on the hatching. So no people have problems with hatching. You know, people will send me drawing files. It won't hatch in. What's going on? Watch this. I'm going to start a brand new drawing to show there's not smoke and mirrors, based on a blank empty template file. Here we go. A blank empty template file. Here we go. Just turn all those settings off down there. Now I'm going to draw a shape on the screen. Okay, oops. Just close those things there. I'm going to draw a shape on the screen using the polyline around the screen. Those who've been on my training course will have seen this. I tell everybody this one because it's a cracker, this one. Here we go. Draw around the screen, around the perimeter of the screen with a polyline. I want to leave it open by the smallest gap I can see without zooming in. Okay. Now, if I zoom and pan, you will all agree there's a break there in the boundary. Okay. There's a break in the boundary. Okay, so there's my shape. I'm going to try and hatch in. So go to the hatch routine, use a solid pattern. I'm going to tell it to hatch in this shape. There we go, we've all seen that. We've all seen that error message on the screen. Okay, the upshot is it won't hatch it in. So escape, escape, escape. Sometimes it puts you some red circles on where the break is. Other times it doesn't, so don't rely on those red circles. Now this is a very simple shape, very simple shape, but you might have a complex area that you wanted to hatch in. and it just won't hatch it in. It won't hatch in. So anyway, a regen will clear those red marks off the screen. So now if you read the help files, it says it's got to be a closed shape. If you go onto the Autodesk website, it's got to be a closed shape. Watch. If I zoom away from this shape, make it really tiny on the screen, you must force a regen. That will refresh the display based on the current zoom level. If I go to the hatch routine with a solid pattern and click in the middle of my shape there, and do a closed hatch creation, it will hatch it in. So when they say it's going to be a closed shape, it's rubbish. It doesn't have to be a closed shape. It will hatch in an open shape. What I sussed out with this, now I worked this out from a customer's drawing. What I sussed out here was the hatch routine works on the resolution of the display, not the accuracy of your drawing. So as far as the display is concerned, at that zoom level, there is no break. At that zoom level, there is. So when you are trying to hatch in your shape and you find a break and you close it, and you do a bit more zooming, you may be opening up other breaks around the profile of that hatch area. So you end up chasing your own tail and get frustrated, and it's just a nightmare. So watch out for that one. If this was a machine tool path, and you downloaded that to the machine tool, the tool path would fail because there is physically a break in the coordinates around that boundary. So you would have to find it. You would have to find it. However, if that was a hatching for the floor area of a building or an alarm zone or I don't know, a sprinkler area or whatever, or just gravel for on a roadway, it doesn't really matter if there's a very small break in the corner. No, it doesn't. Get the hatching in, get the drawing out the door. Okay, so watch out for that one. Now, let me show you another thing with hatching. If you can hatch in a closed shape, so much the better by picking on it. We have a shape here. In fact, I'll open another drawing. Control O to open. I'm going to open up another drawing. If I go back up on this, and it's a little drawing I use in this one here. I like this drawing file here. If you've got a closed, if you've got an area, you want to work out what the area is in there, for example. That's interesting. Doesn't know what the area is inside this lobby here, for example. Then there's a tool that will automatically draw you a boundary polyline. Here it is, the boundary command. I don't know if you're aware of this one, but this is a useful tool. The boundary command, and you do a pick points into an area, and it will draw you a boundary polyline. And there it is, look. And the beauty about that is, and you can see the area straight away in there. There's the area. Here's the area in there. Okay. I think I've been playing about with this drawing file, so it's not the original drawing file. But going back to our drawing one here, for example, if I was to zoom right out on this and run the boundary command in here, pick a point inside there, press enter. Now it has drawn a closed polyline around there. So if I pick my new polyline, I can move it away from my shape. So now I have a closed shape there, which I can go and hatch in by selecting the object. Okay, so that's quite a useful tool as well. So that's your isolate tool there that I was showing you before. Okay, so there we go. I've really covered everything there. I've been flying through a bit of a fair old pace there. So yeah, so some useful tools there for cleaning drawing files up, checking the drawing files out, that measurement command, watch out for that. Isolating the objects to cut down the amount of information the drawing has to, the graphics card, give your graphics card a breather, because that's typically what you're giving a hammering is the graphics card in there. There's one other thing as well. One thing I was going to show you, just glancing to my notes to the side here. Yeah, there's I'll go back to that bank building drawing, just so I've got something on the screen here. If you erase some objects on the screen, another little useful tip, if you've got a customer on the phone and he's saying, well, I can't I don't want all of these offices here. Can you erase some of these offices down the side? Get rid of those offices there and delete those. And we don't want all that office. Just work on this part over here. You're all aware of the undo command and the redo commands, but watch this. If I go and draw some more information on the screen here, so I'm going to draw some more information on the screen here, and the customer comes back on the phone and says, no, don't get rid of that. Don't get rid of that other stuff, Steve. Don't erase that off the screen there. It's too late. You've already drawn some more information on the screen. Now, you could do an undo back to get other information back. But if I just type the word oops, O-O-P-S, oops, that will bring back the last erase, no matter how far back it was. And there it is, look. And it's kept my circles on the new information on the screen there. Just a little daft little thing there. But I've used it more than one occasion. I'll be working away. I'll erase some information. I'll do some more work. And I'll think to myself, oh, damn it, I've erased far too much there. Instead of doing an undo, and losing your new work, if you type the word oops, this will bring back the last erase. Watch, I'll do it again. In this area here, if the customer says, no, I don't want these desks in here, I want this an open plan office in there, get rid of all this in Latin, I want that an open plan office. And I go and do some more work over here, put some tanks in over here or whatever, draw some more rectangles over here, do some more work on the drawing file, might draw some lines in. Now, to get those red desks back again, all I need to do is type the word oops. And there they are. Just a daft little thing there, but as I say, I've used it on more than one occasion. Excellent. Right, as I say, if you've got any questions, then you can drop me an email and Steve, whoops, I can't even spell my own name now, steve.crow@greytech.co.uk. So if you drop me an email, you have any questions on that one, if you've got a problem with the drawing file, you can't find out how to sort it out, send it over and I'll tell you what's wrong with it. As I say, I'm doing a webinar this afternoon on a bit more on customizing AutoCAD to make things a bit easier, you know, any tedious, repetitive routines, how to get away with the ribbon. Now, people, you know, get away from that classic view. So I'm going to go through that this afternoon. How to transfer your AutoCAD settings from machine to machine. Have a look at tool palettes as well. They're really useful tool palettes. I'm going to go through those. Dynamic blocks. I'll have a little introduction to dynamic blocks. And annotative objects. You may receive a drawing file with annotative objects in. How do you work those? So I'm going to be running that this afternoon at 2 o'clock if you want to log in on that one. Okay, well, it's good enough 11 o'clock. The time's flown, can't believe it. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a bit strange not seeing people in front of me in a classroom, but there you go. Okay, right. Thanks very much for that. And hopefully I'll see some of you this afternoon. If there's any questions, just wing them over on an email to me. And there we go. I'm really happy with that. Thanks very much. Have a good day, guys and gals. See you again. Cheers now. Bye.